Today we're talking about an ABBA song that John Lennon and Pete Townsend called the best pop song of all time. It was a hit that arrived at exactly the right moment and hit the mark perfectly.
After winning Eurovision, ABBA faced a serious problem. They couldn't secure their success. Several follow-up singles performed only moderately, and very quickly, the band was labeled a one-hit wonder. Only a truly powerful hit could save ABBA from that label.
And that's when SOS appeared, the song that finally and forever moved ABBA into the top league of global pop and disco. From that moment on, it became clear they were no longer just a group of talented, likable musicians. They were a force, capable of shaking the entire pop world.
The song's main weapon was Agnetha's voice, fragile and powerful at the same time. It turned a personal love drama into a true musical masterpiece. In the verses, she practically cried with her voice. That's how ABBA's sound engineer, Michael Trado, described it. Agnetha poured raw, genuine emotion into every line. Her singing sounds like a complaint against a cruel twist of fate. It was astonishing. The emotion felt so natural, so real, as if she wasn't performing a song at all, but singing about herself.
The chorus, however, is a real rock explosion. The format shifts abruptly, the sound becomes tougher, more aggressive, yet the emotional core remains intact. If the verse is a sad statement, almost a plea, the chorus is pure power.
Because of this combination, the song creates an exceptionally powerful emotional contrast. It triggers a chain reaction that goes far beyond music itself. It leads to the very thing every creator is searching for, that elusive, mysterious moment when real magic happens.
The song was written in 1974 in Stockholm at Glenmark Studio. As was always the case with ABBA, everything began with the melody. Benny improvised at the piano while Bjorn played along on the guitar. This time, however, Benny already had a foundation prepared. He had come up with the chord progression in advance, inspired by classical music.
The lyrics were written first by the band's manager and songwriter, Stig Anderson. But Bjorn and Benny felt that his words didn't fit the music properly. Stig also came up with the song's original working title, Turn Me On. At one point, Benny jokingly added another option, If It Wasn't for the Nights. That joke didn't disappear without a trace. Years later, it became the title of a completely different ABBA song.
While Bjorn was reworking the lyrics, Stig was searching for a louder, stronger title. As he often did, he scanned the press, looking for striking words. But the real idea came while he was watching a feature film about sailors in distress. SOS. Stig insisted on that title, even though Bjorn and Benny initially found it inappropriate. To them, it felt strange to use an international distress signal for a love song. But that unusual title forced Bjorn to rewrite the lyrics once again. Now the song had to evoke a sense of emergency, a romantic emergency.
Here's a curious detail. The title, SOS, became one of the shortest in the history of the international charts, just 3 letters, yet a song that sounds as loud and powerful as tracks with the longest titles imaginable. It's symbolic that ABBA would later create the exact opposite, a single with an almost endlessly long name. I do, I do, I do, I do, I do. The contrast couldn't be clearer, and it's very ABBA, from the most concise title to the most extended one.
The song was recorded at Metronome Studio in Stockholm. Benny's keyboard parts create the feeling of an organ-like chorale, while Bjorn's guitars add a distinct rock edge. The bass and drums keep the song firmly in a danceable shape, and Agnetha's vocal makes it unmistakable. In the chorus, Frida joins in, and that's when the signature ABBA wall of sound begins to emerge, a sound that would later become their trademark. Inside the band, there was a strong feeling that this was something special, but no one yet realized that SOS would become a turning point.
The song appeared on ABBA's 3rd studio album, released in 1975, appropriately titled ABBA. The album became a turning point in the band's career. It was here that the sound, later known as the unmistakable ABBA sound, truly took shape. While the earlier albums felt like a period of searching, this one sounded like a confident declaration of global ambition.
SOS became the album's central track and its true breakthrough single. It set the tone for the entire record, and for many listeners, it was the song that marked their real introduction to ABBA. More than that, the success of SOS quite literally saved the album from the risk of going unnoticed. Other singles didn't deliver the same impact. It was this song that pulled the entire album onto a completely new level of popularity.
Later, Mamma Mia exploded onto the charts. Together, these two hits turned the album ABBA into an international sensation. If SOS proved that the band could compete on a global level, then Mamma Mia sealed their status as the leading pop group of the second half of the 1970s.
On its own, SOS reached the top 10 in several countries. In the UK, it climbed to number 6. In Australia, it went all the way to number 1. In the United States, the song entered the top 20 of the Billboard Hot 100, a crucial breakthrough, because conquering America had always been considered the ultimate challenge for any European band.
Beyond Australia, SOS also reached number 1 in Belgium, Germany, and New Zealand. The music press reacted just as strongly. One critic wrote, "If ABBA keep releasing songs like this, they have a great future ahead of them." That great future was already beginning.
Later, in 1975, a music video was made for SOS. It was directed by Lasse Hallström, who would later become ABBA's regular visual partner. The video is strikingly minimalist. The band stands in front of the camera against a white background, with the main focus on the faces of Agnetha and Frida. But that simplicity worked in its favor. The close-ups convey the song's drama more powerfully than any elaborate set ever could.
Agnetha's gaze, directed straight into the camera, became one of the most recognizable images in ABBA's entire history. For the first time in an ABBA video, the center of attention clearly shifted to Agnetha.
For Agnetha, this song meant a great deal. She later said more than once that SOS was one of the first songs where her voice finally sounded the way she had always dreamed it would. Emotional, open, and with real dramatic depth. Agnetha's idol had always been Connie Francis, famous for her powerful delivery of love ballads. And in SOS, Agnetha seemed to fully realize that ideal.
Her vocal performance in the song became a direct embodiment of what she had once heard in Connie Francis's recordings, a combination of tenderness and strength, vulnerability and determination. This approach was more than just singing. It was the transmission of emotion, as if the singer were entrusting the listener with a deeply personal secret.
For many fans, SOS marked the moment when Agnetha emerged as a dramatic singer of true world-class level, not just a member of a successful pop group. And in the years that followed, that same emotional signature would be heard again and again in ABBA's songs, from The Winner Takes It All to One of Us. The vocal style that first revealed itself so vividly in SOS became one of the defining features of ABBA's music.
Bjorn Ulvaeus later recalled that one of the most flattering comments he ever received came in New York when he unexpectedly met Pete Townsend. Pete said to me, Bjorn remembered, "Do you know that SOS is the best pop song ever written?" "I was extremely proud," Bjorn said. John Lennon shared a very similar opinion. At home, he often listened to ABBA, and his favorite song was that same SOS.
SOS became the exact point where ABBA's past and future finally crossed. It was a decisive moment. The band had to prove they were capable of more than just one Eurovision hit, and that moment marked the beginning of a golden run that would bring ABBA worldwide fame. Even decades later, SOS still sounds remarkably modern, a reminder that true masterpieces never age. Subscribe for more stories about ABBA.